Lucas Lambert's throat tightened as his 5-year-old daughter Emma pressed her small face against the toy store window, her breath fogging the glass as she gazed longingly at the limited edition Ballerina Dreams Barbie doll displayed on a miniature stage. The price tag of $59.99 might as well have been $5,999 considering his current financial situation. "Daddy, she's so beautiful," Emma whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. "She dances just like I want to." Lucas knelt beside his daughter, trying to keep his voice steady. "She is beautiful, sweetheart, but remember what we talked about. We're here to look for a birthday present for cousin Zoe, not for us today." The pain of saying those words stabbed at his heart. 6 months ago, he could have bought Emma the doll without a second thought. But life had changed dramatically since his wife's death, and the crushing medical bills that followed, coupled with the unexpected layoff from his engineering job. Now he worked 2 part-time positions just to keep their small apartment and put food on the table. "I know, Daddy," Emma said with the resignation no 5-year-old should have to master. She gave the doll one last longing look before turning away, her shoulders slumped but her chin up, a perfect miniature of her mother's resilience that made Lucas's chest ache. As they moved away from the display, Lucas nearly collided with a woman examining a display of educational toys nearby. "I'm so sorry," he said, steadying Emma, who had bumped against his legs. The woman looked up, and Lucas found himself momentarily speechless. She was striking not in the conventional supermodel way, but with an elegant confidence that radiated from her warm brown eyes and the gentle curve of her smile. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore minimal makeup that enhanced rather than masked her features. "No harm done," she replied, her voice carrying a slight accent he couldn't quite place. Her eyes shifted to Emma and her smile widened. "Hello there." Emma, never shy, immediately brightened. "Hi, I'm Emma and I'm 5. She held up her hand, fingers splayed to illustrate. "We're here to buy a present for my cousin Zoe, but I was just looking at the ballerina Barbie because I love ballet." The woman crouched down to Emma's level, seeming genuinely interested. "You do? I used to dance ballet when I was about your age. Really? Did you become a ballerina?" Emma asked, clearly impressed. The woman laughed, a warm sound that seemed to brighten the store. "No, I ended up taking a different path, but I still love to dance." Lucas extended his hand. "I'm Lucas, by the way, Emma's dad, Victoria," she replied, standing to shake his hand. "Victoria Thornton. It's lovely to meet you both." There was something about her that put Lucas at ease despite his usual reserve around strangers. Perhaps it was the way she spoke to Emma, not with that condescending tone some adults used with children, but with genuine interest. "Are you looking for something specific today?" Victoria asked. Before Lucas could answer, Emma piped up again. "Daddy needs to find a present for $15, she announced with the brutal honesty of childhood. "That's our budget." Lucas felt heat crawl up his neck. "Emma," he murmured, embarrassed. Victoria didn't miss a beat. "Budgets are important. I'm impressed you know about them already, Emma. That's very grown up." The store clerk approached them, a young man with a name tag that read Tyler. "Can I help you find anything today?" "We're looking for a gift for a 7-year-old girl," Lucas explained. "Something around $15. Tyler nodded and led them to a section with more affordable toys. As Lucas and Emma followed, Victoria moved in a different direction, and Lucas felt an unexpected twinge of disappointment. After 10 minutes of deliberation, Lucas and Emma settled on a craft kit for Zoe. As they approached the register, Lucas spotted Victoria again, now in line at the adjacent cashier with a shopping basket. Emma tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, can I say goodbye to the nice lady?" "Sure, sweetheart, but let's not interrupt if she's busy." They waited their turn at the register, and Lucas couldn't help noticing that Victoria had purchased several items, including what looked like educational robotics kits. The cashier was ringing up her purchases with noticeable deference. "That's $432.50, Miss Thornton. Will you be using your usual account?" Victoria nodded. "Yes, please, and add this as well." She reached over to a display by the register and picked up the Ballerina Dreams Barbie that Emma had been admiring earlier. Lucas felt his stomach drop. Was she buying it for a daughter of her own, a niece perhaps? He shouldn't feel this strange sense of connection to a woman he'd just met, yet he couldn't deny the pull he felt toward her. After paying for Zoe's gift, Lucas guided Emma toward the exit. "Should we go say goodbye to Victoria now?" he asked, seeing that she was still at the register. Emma nodded enthusiastically. They waited politely a few steps away until Victoria completed her transaction and turned around, carrying a large shopping bag. "We just wanted to say goodbye," Lucas said, surprised at how awkward he suddenly felt. It had been a long time since he'd made casual conversation with an attractive woman. "I'm glad you did," Victoria smiled. "Emma, I have something for you." She reached into her bag and pulled out the Ballerina Dreams Barbie, still in its pristine packaging. "I couldn't help overhearing how much you loved ballet. I thought you might like to have this." Emma's mouth dropped open in disbelief. "For me, really?" Lucas immediately stiffened. "That's incredibly generous, but we couldn't possibly." Victoria cut him off gently. "Please. I'd love for her to have it. I run an educational foundation that promotes arts and sciences for children. Ballet was my first love as a girl, and I like to encourage that passion when I see it in others." Lucas hesitated, torn between pride and the look of pure joy on his daughter's face. Emma was already reaching for the doll with reverent hands. "At least let me pay you back when he began, but Victoria was already shaking her head. "Consider it a gift from one dancer to another," she told Emma, who was hugging the box to her chest now. "What do you say, Emma?" Lucas prompted, still uncomfortable with accepting such an expensive gift from a stranger. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Emma bounced on her toes, her face radiant. "Daddy, can I show her my ballet moves sometime?" Victoria laughed. "I'd love that." She pulled a business card from her purse and handed it to Lucas. "My foundation is hosting a children's arts festival next weekend at Kennedy Park. Free admission, lots of activities. You should bring Emma. She could try the dance workshop." Lucas accepted the card, noting the embossed logo of the Thornton Educational Foundation. "We'll think about it," he said non-committally, though he was already leaning toward going. "Wonderful," Victoria replied, checking her watch. "I'm afraid I have to run to a meeting now, but it was truly a pleasure meeting you both." As she walked away, Emma waved enthusiastically. "Bye, Miss Victoria. I'll practice my dancing for you." Victoria turned to wave back, her eyes meeting Lucas's one last time before she disappeared through the automatic doors. Lucas stared at the business card in his hand, wondering what had just happened. The Thornton Educational Foundation. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but he couldn't place it. "Daddy, Miss Victoria is so nice. Can we go to her dance thing? Please, please." Emma was practically vibrating with excitement, clutching her new doll. Lucas smiled down at his daughter, her happiness momentarily pushing aside his wounded pride. "We'll see, sweetheart, we'll see." That evening, after Emma had gone to bed reluctantly parting with her new Barbie, only after Lucas promised the doll would be safe on her nightstand, he sat down at their small kitchen table with his laptop and looked up Victoria Thornton. What he found left him stunned. Victoria Thornton wasn't just some foundation director. She was the foundation. The Thornton Educational Foundation was a multi-million-dollar charitable organization funded primarily by Thornton Technologies, a company Victoria had founded in her 20s. Now 34, she was worth an estimated $220 million according to a recent business magazine profile. Lucas closed his laptop and leaned back in his chair, feeling slightly dizzy. He'd been talking to a self-made tech millionaire, and she'd bought his daughter a Barbie doll as casually as he might buy a coffee. His first instinct was to feel humiliated. He didn't want charity, especially not from someone so far removed from his current reality. But as he thought about it more, he remembered how Victoria had spoken to Emma with genuine warmth and interest. There had been no condescension in her gesture, just spontaneous kindness. After a restless night, Lucas decided they would attend the arts festival. Emma deserved the opportunity, and he couldn't let his pride stand in her way. Besides, a small part of him, a part he tried to ignore, wanted to see Victoria again. The festival was a colorful, bustling affair that transformed Kennedy Park into a wonderland of creativity. Art stations, Music performances, science exhibits, and dance areas were scattered throughout the grounds, all free and staffed by enthusiastic volunteers in bright blue t-shirts. Emma, dressed in her favorite pink leggings and tutu, clutched Lucas's hand as they navigated through the crowds. "Where's Miss Victoria?" she asked for the third time since their arrival. "I'm not sure she'll be here, sweetheart," Lucas explained patiently. "She runs the foundation, but that doesn't mean she attends every event." Emma's face fell slightly, but she perked up when they found the dance pavilion. A group of children were learning basic ballet positions from a professional dancer. Lucas helped Emma join the group, then stepped back to watch, his heart swelling as his daughter threw herself into the lesson with fierce concentration. "She's a natural." The voice behind him made Lucas turn sharply. Victoria stood there, dressed more casually than before in jeans and a foundation t-shirt, her hair braided over one shoulder. She looked younger, more approachable, but no less striking. "You came," Lucas said, unable to hide his surprise. Victoria smiled. "I try to be at as many events as possible. The foundation is personal to me." Her eyes found Emma in the group. "She's taking it very seriously." Lucas nodded, pride evident in his expression. "She's been practicing with that Barbie you gave her. I couldn't get her to put it down." "I'm glad she likes it." There was an awkward pause, and Lucas knew he needed to address the elephant in the room. "I looked you up after we met. I had no idea who you were." Victoria's smile faltered slightly. "Does that change things?" "I'm not sure," Lucas admitted honestly. "I'm not comfortable with charity. I'm going through a rough patch, but I can provide for my daughter." Victoria touched his arm lightly. "Lucas, the doll wasn't charity. It was a spontaneous gift from someone who remembers what it's like to want something that seems out of reach." She paused, then added, "But I do owe you an apology if I overstepped." Before Lucas could respond, Emma spotted them and came running over. "Miss Victoria, you came. Did you see my pliés? The teacher said I did them good." Victoria crouched down to Emma's level. "I did see them. You were wonderful." Emma beamed, then launched into an enthusiastic recounting of everything she'd learned. Lucas watched the interaction, noting how Victoria gave Emma her full attention, asking questions and responding with genuine interest. When Emma ran back to try another dance activity, Victoria straightened and turned to Lucas. "Would you like to see what else the festival has to offer? I could show you around." Lucas hesitated only briefly. "Sure, Emma would love that." For the next 2 hours, they explored the festival together. Victoria introduced them to artists, musicians, and scientists, all of whom clearly respected her. Lucas observed how she interacted with everyone, from important donors to the youngest children, with the same authentic warmth. As Emma participated in a paint splatter art project, Lucas found himself sharing more of his story with Victoria, his career as a mechanical engineer. Losing his wife Melissa to a sudden illness 18 months ago, the mounting medical bills, and eventually being laid off during company downsizing. "I've been piecing together part-time work while job hunting," he explained. "I work mornings at a warehouse and evenings at an auto repair shop. My neighbor Mrs. Chen watches Emma when I can't be there." "That must be exhausting," Victoria said, her eyes full of understanding rather than pity. "It is," Lucas admitted. "But it's temporary. I've got some promising interviews next week." Victoria seemed to consider something before speaking. "Lucas, I hope this isn't overstepping again, but Thornton Technologies has an engineering division. We're always looking for talented people. If you'd like, I could arrange an interview." Lucas stiffened immediately. "I appreciate the thought, but I don't want a job because someone feels sorry for me." "That's not what I'm offering," Victoria replied evenly. "I'm suggesting you interview like anyone else would. Your qualifications would speak for themselves. I wouldn't even be involved in the hiring process. That's not my department." Lucas felt torn. He needed a good job, but accepting help from Victoria, even in the form of a connection, felt like compromising his independence. Yet part of being a good father was putting Emma's needs above his pride. "I'll think about it," he finally said. Victoria nodded, accepting his response without pushing. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a different business card. "This is my personal contact. If you decide you'd like that interview, or if Emma wants to show off more ballet moves, you can reach me directly." Their conversation was interrupted by Emma returning with her artwork, a colorful explosion of paint splatters that somewhat resembled a dancer. The rest of the afternoon passed pleasantly, and by the time they were ready to leave, Lucas found himself reluctant to say goodbye. "Thank you for showing us around," he said as they stood near the exit. Victoria smiled. "It was my pleasure. I don't often get to experience the festival through fresh eyes." Emma tugged at Victoria's hand. "Will you come see my ballet recital? It's next month and I'm going to be a butterfly." Lucas started to explain that Victoria was very busy, but she beat him to the response. "I would love to come, Emma, if your dad says it's okay." Both females turned expectant eyes to Lucas, who found himself nodding. "Of course, I'll text you the details." Emma cheered and hugged Victoria impulsively before Lucas could stop her. To his surprise, Victoria returned the hug naturally, as if being embraced by small children was a regular occurrence. As they parted ways, Lucas found himself thinking about Victoria's job offer. 2 days later, after a particularly exhausting shift at the warehouse, he sent her a text accepting her help with the interview. The process moved quickly. Lucas interviewed with the engineering department, careful not to mention his connection to the company's founder. His qualifications and experience spoke for themselves, and within a week, he received an offer for a position that paid nearly double what he'd made at his previous job. When he called Victoria to thank her, she insisted on celebrating. "Bring Emma to Giovanni's on Saturday. It's casual, child-friendly, and has the best tiramisu in the city." Lucas agreed, ignoring the voice in his head that whispered this sounded suspiciously like a date. It was just dinner to celebrate a new job, nothing more. Giovanni's turned out to be a charming Italian restaurant with a relaxed atmosphere. Victoria was already seated when they arrived, and Emma ran to her with excitement, clutching her ballerina Barbie. "Miss Victoria, look, I brought her so she could celebrate too." Victoria made a show of admiring the doll and finding a spot for her at the table. Throughout dinner, Lucas found himself increasingly drawn to Victoria. She was brilliant and successful, yes, but also genuine, funny, and remarkably down-to-earth. She shared stories of her own childhood growing up with a single mother who worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, winning a scholarship that changed her life, building her company from nothing. "People see the success now," she explained over dessert while Emma was distracted by the restaurant's fish tank, "but they don't see the years of ramen noodles and sleeping on friends' couches. I've been where you are, Lucas. The only difference is I didn't have a child depending on me." Lucas studied her face, seeing sincerity in her eyes. "Is that why you helped us? Because you see yourself in my situation?" Victoria considered the question. "Partly, but mostly because I saw something special in both of you." Her eyes shifted to Emma, who was returning to the table. "Emma reminds me of myself at that age, all that determination and joy, and you." She met his gaze directly. "You have this quiet strength that I admire. You're going through something incredibly difficult, but you haven't let it break you." Lucas felt a warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with the wine they'd shared. "Thank you for seeing that," he said softly. "Most days I don't feel very strong." "That's when you're strongest of all," Victoria replied, "when you keep going despite not feeling strong." The evening ended with a promise to meet again soon. Over the following weeks, as Lucas settled into his new position at Thornton Technologies, their relationship evolved from friendship into something deeper. Victoria attended Emma's ballet recital as promised, bringing flowers that made Emma feel like a real ballerina. Lucas joined Victoria at a charity gala, feeling only slightly out of place in the rented tuxedo she assured him looked perfect. 3 months after their first meeting at the toy store, Lucas invited Victoria to dinner at his apartment, a simple meal he prepared himself. After Emma went to bed, they sat on the small balcony, talking late into the night. "I need to confess something," Victoria said, her voice soft in the darkness. "That day at the toy store wasn't entirely coincidence." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I was there scouting educational toys for a foundation project, but I saw you and Emma before you noticed me. The way you spoke to her about the budget, with such honesty and respect, it caught my attention. I deliberately put myself in your path." So you planned to buy her the Barbie all along. Lucas wasn't sure how he felt about this revelation. Victoria shook her head. No, that was spontaneous. I just wanted to meet you both. There was something about the way you interacted with Emma that. She trailed off, looking embarrassed. This sounds ridiculous now that I'm saying it out loud. Lucas reached for her hand. No, go on. I lost my father when I was 4, Victoria explained. My mother did her best, but she was always working. I used to watch fathers with their children and feel this terrible longing. When I saw you with Emma, the way you knelt to her level, the way you respected her disappointment without giving in or dismissing her feelings. It was beautiful. Lucas squeezed her hand. I'm not perfect, I make plenty of mistakes with her. That's not the point, Victoria said. You love her completely and it shows in everything you do. She paused. I've dated men who saw my success as either intimidating or something to exploit. I've never met someone like you, who sees me for who I am beyond all that. Lucas realized this was a moment of vulnerability for her, this confident, successful woman who had built an empire from nothing. How could I see anything else? He asked softly. The money, the foundation, the company. They're things you've done, not who you are. Victoria's eyes glistened in the dim light. And who am I? You're the woman who bought a Barbie for a stranger's child, who remembers what it's like to want something out of reach, who sits through 5-year-olds' ballet recitals and actually enjoys them. He leaned closer. You're the woman I'm falling in love with. The words hung between them, honest and exposed. Then Victoria closed the distance, her lips finding his in a kiss that felt like coming home and embarking on an adventure all at once. Their relationship deepened over the following months. Victoria became a regular presence in their lives, joining them for movie nights and Sunday breakfasts. Emma adored her, and the feeling was clearly mutual. Lucas worried sometimes that the disparity in their financial situations would become an issue, but Victoria navigated it with sensitivity. She never flaunted her wealth or tried to take over their lives with extravagant gestures. When she did give gifts, they were thoughtful rather than excessive, and she respected Lucas's boundaries. For Emma's 6th birthday, Victoria collaborated with Lucas to convert the small spare room in their apartment into a ballet studio, complete with a bar and mirrors. It was practical, personal, and perfect. What did I do to deserve you? Lucas asked as they watched Emma twirling in her new space, the ballerina Barbie positioned on a small shelf to supervise her practice. Victoria linked her fingers with his. You were exactly who you are. That's more than enough. A year after they met, Lucas proposed on the same balcony where they'd first confessed their feelings. He'd saved for months to buy a ring that wouldn't embarrass him, nothing like what she could afford, but meaningful nonetheless. I know this isn't what you're used to, he began nervously. Victoria stopped him with a gentle touch to his cheek. Lucas Lambert, if you're about to apologize for the ring or suggest I deserve something more expensive, I might have to reconsider my answer. He laughed, tension breaking. Fair enough. Victoria Thornton, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Emma and I both love you more than we can say, and our lives are infinitely better with you in them. Yes, she answered without hesitation. 1,000 times yes. They married 6 months later in a ceremony that balanced Victoria's resources with Lucas's preference for simplicity. Emma served as flower girl, proudly carrying her ballerina Barbie down the aisle alongside the basket of rose petals. During the reception, Victoria pulled Lucas aside to a quiet corner. I have a wedding gift for you, she said, handing him an envelope. Inside, Lucas found papers establishing a trust for Emma's education. Victoria, this is too much, it's not charity, she said firmly. It's family. And there's something else. She handed him a second envelope. This one contained documents showing that the Thornton Educational Foundation had established a new scholarship program for children who had lost a parent named after Melissa. Lucas felt tears prick his eyes. You never even met her. No, Victoria said softly, but I know how much she meant to you and Emma. Her memory deserves to live on by helping others. Lucas pulled his new wife into his arms, overwhelmed by the thoughtfulness of her gift. I love you, he whispered against her hair. I love you too, Victoria replied. Both of you. Who would have thought that a Barbie doll would change all our lives? It wasn't the doll. Lucas said, looking across the room to where Emma was showing her Barbie to Victoria's mother. It was the woman with the kind heart behind it. 3 years later, their family expanded with the birth of twins, a boy and girl they named Michael and Olivia. Emma, now 9, took her role as big sister seriously, proudly introducing the babies to her ballet world and the ballerina Barbie that still held a place of honor in her room. On the twins' first Christmas, Lucas surprised Victoria with a shadow box frame containing the receipt from the toy store where they'd met and the business card she'd given him, alongside a photo of Emma with her Barbie. "To remind us where it all began," he said as she unwrapped it. Victoria smiled through tears. "The best money I ever spent." Lucas, now a department head at Thornton Technologies through his own merit and hard work, wrapped an arm around his wife. "And the best day I ever couldn't afford a Barbie doll." Together, they watched their children, Emma helping the twins unwrap presents with careful patience, and silently acknowledged how a chance encounter and a simple act of kindness had led to a life neither could have imagined that day in the toy store. A life built not on wealth or circumstance, but on love, respect, and the understanding that sometimes the greatest gifts come in unexpected packages.